Now, we know that Republican tax plan is an enormous giveaway to the rich, right, and corporations. Now, this plan, though, surprisingly, the one surprising part of this plan is actually the people who are against it. That includes some rich people. Now, according to the Washington Post, more than 400 American millionaires and billionaires are sending a letter to Congress this week urging Republican lawmakers to not cut their taxes. Wow. Now, this is the wealthy Americans, including doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, and chief executives, forming a group called Responsible Wealth, say the GOP is making a mistake by cutting taxes in the richest families at a time when national debt is high and income inequality is at the worst level it's been since 1920. Now, the letter calls on Congress not to pass any tax bill that further exacerbates inequality and adds to the debt, which unfortunately for the GOP is all their tax plan does. It just gives more to the rich and adds more to the debt. You know, it's always funny when Republicans, when there's a Democratic president, right? Republicans are like, oh my God, the debt and the deficit. Look how much you're adding to the debt. And now they're looking at 1.7, at least $1.5 trillion adding to the deficit. And they're like, ram it through. Let's ram this thing fast. Get it through, get it through. We don't even want a CBO score on it. Go, go, go. We want to vote on it. We want it on President Trump's desk so we can get it done. But wait, I thought you guys cared about the deficit. I thought you guys cared about the debt. Yeah, I know. Dynamic scoring, which is a bunch of horse shit. But anyway, now, the letter instead calls on Congress to raise taxes on rich people like them. So here we have the millionaires, or at least a group of millionaires, saying, hey, you know what? We're already fantastically wealthy. We don't need another tax cut. So let's not go that way. In fact, we want to give you money. Wow. Republican heads are exploding right now, by the way. Now, again, as I mentioned, this letter was put together by Responsible Wealth. Now, that is a group that advocates for progressive causes. I love them already. Signers include Ben & Jerry's ice cream founders Ben Cohn and Jerry Greenfield, fashion designer Eileen Fisher, billionaire hedge fund manager George Soros. Oh my God, Soros. Alert, I've triggered a bunch of conservatives. Heads exploded. Just have to mention that. Steve Rockefeller. Oh my God, the Rockefellers too. They're in on this conspiracy to cut taxes or to raise taxes on the rich. That really doesn't happen to fit in with their narrative, does it? But anyway, now there are also many individuals and couples who are part of the top 5%, which is ranges from 1.5 million in assets or earning 250,000 or more per year. So there's a lot of people, a lot of affluent people, and some millionaires and billionaires as well, that are like, hey man, look, we can't keep going the way that we're going. Something's going to give, something's going to break, and we really don't want to be around here when it does. We actually want to solve the problem before people start coming out with the pitchforks. Just saying. All right. Now, among these people is Bob Crandall. Now, Bob Crandall is a former American Airlines chief executive who lives in Florida and has added his name to the letter. He said, quote, I think a tax cut is absurd. Republicans are saying we can't afford to spend money, but we can afford to give rich people a huge tax break. That makes no sense. Now, of course, the White House has been fighting against that narrative, that it's and saying that no, it's primarily a middle class tax cut. But as numerous studies have shown, and people that have just looked at the bill, we've seen that the lion's share of the benefits of this tax plan end up going to very, very wealthy people. It is a tax cut for the rich. It doesn't matter what you say about it. The numbers don't lie. Now, Gary Cohn, in trying to push back, and he's Trump's Treasury Secretary, or not Treasury Secretary, sorry, that's Mnuchin, who's also been pushing for this. But Gary Cohn is an economic advisor to Trump, and he said, quote, I don't believe that we've set out to create a tax cut for the wealthy. If someone's getting a tax cut, I'm not upset that they're getting a tax cut. Everything in our tax system is meant to encourage investment. Now, that is not true. Just yesterday, Cohn was told by CEOs that they don't actually plan on investing anything. In fact, I've got that video.
If the tax reform bill goes through, do you plan to increase investment, your company's investment, capital investment? Just a show of hands, the tax reform goes through? Okay.
Why aren't the other hands up?
Because they're not going to invest in anything. This giant tax cut is not going to create economic growth. It's not actually going to create jobs. It's not going to spur and encourage investment. And the guy wants to act surprised. No, not a surprise. In fact, Crandall said, quote, "I have a big income. If my income gets bigger, I'm not going to invest more. I'll just save more." Yeah, that's what they do. This isn't rocket science here. Look, if you've got a ton of money, right? If you've got more income, like 10, 12 times more income, coming in than it is going out for regular living expenses, then what are you going to do? You're going to save most of it, right? Every once in a while, you go out and buy a new car or buy a yacht, but most of that money ends up sitting in your bank account. You're not going to do anything with it because you don't really need to. This isn't going after the rich for being greedy. It's just pointing out basic logic. Most rich people are not going to spend a majority of that money. Now, if you're working class, well, that's different. You're going to spend most of that money on survival. You're going to buy things once in a while. You're going to spend it on like food, rent, car insurance, healthcare, education, student loans, that kind of stuff, right? And you're going to spend a majority of your money. You're not going to be able to save very much. Now, that presents other problems, but nonetheless, that's why working people actually need a raise. Working people need to actually make more money and be able to save more money. And that's why, of course, these government programs like universal health care and college that's tuition free is actually incredibly helpful to the middle and working class. But anyway, signers of this letter say that since corporations are already at record profit levels and that wealthy people don't need any more money, we should have the government tax them and use the funds to invest in some of those things that I mentioned earlier: education, healthcare, research, roads, and to ensure that safety net programs such as Medicaid, Medicare are not cut. And of course, that makes all the sense in the world. Again, these government programs actually do a lot to reduce income inequality and actually help people get a chance to get out of poverty. Not only that, but people can get a good education with government help with things like student loans, but would actually get a lot more help with universal, free college. And these people could actually go out and start their own businesses and be successful and hire more people and become job creators. That's what we want. We want people to be successful, but we want to give people the tools. But if rich people hoard all the money and don't spend all the money, don't put it back in the economy, that actually reduces people's upward mobility. That reduces the resources that we can collectively spend on investing in the next generation. That's a huge, huge problem, right? Now, the Republican tax plan, yes, it cuts taxes for the middle class a little bit, but again, the lion's share goes to the rich. What they're doing, especially with the changes to the estate tax, is that they're really fueling more dynastic wealth. So they're creating these rich families that will continue to have, their descendants will continue to have more and more of that wealth for years and years, decades and decades, hundreds of years, if we survive that long. So now, the estate tax, like I said, I mentioned, they specifically in this letter call that out. Now, if you didn't know already, the estate tax, or the death tax as conservatives love to call it, is actually only paid on assets worth more than $5.49 million or $11 million for couples. Now, that is left to heirs, right? Now, the House bill would eliminate that tax entirely. Gone. The Senate bill would double the threshold so that people could inherit up to $11 million or $22 million tax-free. Now, at the moment, let me tell you how many people this affects in the entire United States. Over 300 million people, right? Only 5,000 Americans a year end up paying the estate tax. And under the Senate plan, that would actually drop to about 1,800 families. Now, this is according to a report on the Joint Committee on Taxation. Now, repealing the estate tax would alone lose an estimated $269 billion over 10 years. That's the impact. More than we would spend in the Food and Drug Administration, the Centers for Disease Control, and Environmental Protection Agency combined, according to the letter. So, now, Mike Lapham, who inherited his own wealth, right? So this is a guy who benefited from dynastic wealth. He said, quote, "This has to be one of the few times members of Congress have been visited by people saying, 'Don't give me a tax cut.'" Now, he actually directs the Responsible Wealth Project at United for a Fair Economy. So again, this is a guy who got his wealth from his family, and he's like, "Look, I got this. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be taxed. We did not earn that money. We got lucky playing the genetic lottery. So why should we get a special break on money that we didn't actually earn when there are people out there going hungry, when there are people out there that can't afford their student loans, when there are people out there that can't afford health care? That's not fair in America. We can actually do something about it. Please tax us more." Amazing. In fact, wealthy people are saying we just don't need this tax cut. Now, how much more clear can it be? Look, the people don't want this tax bill, and now there are millionaires and billionaires out there that also do not want this bill. So who does? Well, there are certain billionaires out there that donate a lot to Republican and Democratic politicians to make sure that their taxes never go up. Now, it's obvious that the responsible millionaires, or hopefully I said that's right, responsible wealth, the people that are part of this group, are not cutting checks to the Republican Party. But somebody is. Somebody whose greed overshadows everything. That they're willing to spend so much money, millions and millions of dollars on ads and on politicians so they can avoid paying taxes. Now, these are people like the Koch brothers, Sheldon Adelson, and, of course, the Mercer family, which bankrolled both Ted Cruz and Donald Trump during the election. These are the people that don't like government. These are the people that are trying to destroy government, all so that they can get more and so that you can get less. That's what this game is about. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.